The stars shifted as 300 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Their dark red hulls gleamed like blood against the black void of space. Each vessel was the size of a city, bristling with weapons that could turn planets to ash. The Zephyrian Empire had arrived at Earth's doorstep. Admiral Kexler stood on the bridge of his flagship. The Crimson Blade, his 4 arms moved across the control panels as he studied the data streaming in from his scouts. The third planet from the star looked blue and green from this distance. Pretty, he thought. It would be a shame to burn it all. Admiral, his aide spoke in the clicking language of their species, the intelligence reports are complete. The humans have only been traveling between stars for 50 years. Their weapons are primitive. Their ships are slow. Kexler nodded his massive head. In his long career, he had conquered 17 worlds. Some had put up good fights. Others had surrendered without firing a shot, but all had fallen to the empires. Might, this would be no different. How many ships do they have? He asked. Perhaps 200 combat vessels in total. Most are small patrol craft. They have no real warships by our standards. The admiral smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. And their population? 8 billion spread across one world and a few small colonies. They fight among themselves constantly. No unity. No real leadership. Kexler walked to the great viewing window that showed the distant sun. Earth was nothing more than a tiny dot of light from here. In 3 days it would belong to the Empire. The humans would work in the mines and factories, just like all the other conquered species. It was the natural order of things. Far away on Earth's moon, Commander Jake Morrison was having a very bad day. The sensors at Luna Base had picked up something impossible. The computer kept showing the same readings, but Jake could not believe what he was seeing. Run the scan again, he told his technician. Sir, I've run it 5 times. The readings are the same. 300 large objects just appeared at the system's edge. They're not moving toward us yet, but they're definitely artificial. Jake felt cold sweat on his forehead. He had been tracking space traffic for 12 years. He knew every ship, every satellite, every piece of debris in the solar system. These objects were not supposed to be there. Get me General Patterson at Earth Command Priority 1. The communication screen flickered to life. General Amy Patterson appeared, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her blue eyes were sharp and focused. What is it, Morrison? General, we have a situation. Long-range sensors are showing 300 unknown objects at the edge of the system. They're big, ma'am. Bigger than anything we've ever built. Patterson's face went pale. Are you certain? Yes, ma'am. The computer estimates each object is at least 5 kilometers long. They appeared all at once, which means they have faster-than-light capability far beyond ours. Aliens, Patterson whispered. Then louder, I'm putting the system on full alert. Start tracking those objects. I want to know the moment they move. At the Deep Space Communications Center in Australia, Dr. Ben Carter was setting up the most important call of his life. As Earth's leading expert on possible alien contact, he had prepared for this moment for years. He had learned dozens of languages, studied every form of mathematics and science, and practiced first contact protocols until he could do them in his sleep. Now, with alien ships actually in the solar system, his hands were shaking. Broadcasting. On all frequencies, his assistant told him. The signal is going out. Dr. Carter took a deep breath and pressed the transmit button. This is Dr. Ben Carter of Earth. We are the dominant species of the 3rd planet in this system. We wish to communicate with you in peace. Please respond on any frequency. The response came back in perfect English. Humans of Earth, I am Admiral Kexler of the Zephyrian Empire. Your system is now under our control. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Lay down all weapons. Prepare your leaders for transfer to our ships. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your world. The message repeated on every radio and television frequency on Earth, in every language. The aliens somehow knew. Them all. Dr. Carter's face went white. This was not the peaceful first contact he had dreamed of. This was an invasion. Within minutes, emergency alarms were sounding across the planet. President Lisa Hayes was rushed to the secure bunker beneath the White House, the United Earth. Council was called into emergency session. Military leaders around the world began mobilizing their forces. General Patterson stood before the councils. Video screens, representatives from every nation watching her with worried faces. "The situation is clear," she said. "We face an alien force that far outmatches our military capability. They have given us 3 days to surrender or face destruction. What are our options?" asked the European Union representative. "We can surrender and hope they treat us well as conquered people, or we can fight." "Fighting seems like suicide," said the African Union speaker. President Hayes stood up. She was a small woman, but her voice carried strength. "My fellow leaders, I know the odds. I know what fighting means. But I also know what surrender means. We become slaves. Our children become slaves. Our children's children become slaves. Forever. So what do you propose?" asked the Asian Coalition representative. "We fight. We may not win, but we make them pay for every inch of our world. We show them that humanity does not bow to tyrants." The vote was taken. Every nation agreed. Earth would not surrender. Captain Ryan Brooks received the orders at the Mars Orbital Shipyard. He was to gather every combat vessel in the solar system and prepare for battle. He looked at the list of available ships and shook his head. 200 vessels against 300 alien warships. It was hopeless, but orders were orders. "All ships, this is Captain Brooks. We are going to war. I won't lie to you. We're outgunned and outnumbered. But we're fighting for our homes, our families, and our freedom. Make every shot count." On the alien flagship, Admiral Kexler watched the human ships gathering near Mars. They were so small, so primitive. Their weapons would barely scratch his shields. This would be over quickly. He had no idea that humanity's real response was still being prepared in secret bunkers deep beneath the earth. The humans had not shown him their true strength yet. They had not revealed the weapons they had hoped never to use. The 72 hours were counting down. Soon, the galaxy would learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's home. The 72 hours passed like a nightmare. On Earth, families hugged each other tighter. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. In the cities, people looked up at the sky and wondered if tomorrow would come. Admiral Kexler waited on his bridge as the deadline approached. His fleet had moved closer to Earth during the waiting period. The blue planet now filled his viewing screens, beautiful and doomed. He had hoped the humans would be smart enough to surrender. Now he would have to destroy them. "Admiral," his weapons officer announced, "the deadline has passed." No surrender signal received. Kexler sighed. He had seen this before. Some species fought to the very end, even when they knew they could not win. It was wasteful, but he understood it. Fear made creatures do stupid things. Begin the bombardment. Target their military installations first, then their major population centers. Make it quick. The first wave of plasma cannons fired from the Zephyrian fleet. Beams of pure energy, each one carrying the power of a nuclear weapon, streaked down toward Earth. The planet's thin atmosphere could not protect it from such force. Luna base disappeared in a flash of light. Commander Jake Morrison and his entire crew were gone in seconds. The orbital defense platforms around Earth tried to return fire, but their weapons could not reach the alien ships. One by one, the platforms were destroyed. Lieutenant Kelly Adams was flying her fighter above New York City when the sky exploded. She had been a pilot for 8 years, had flown in 3 different wars, but she had never seen anything like this. Pillars of fire reached down from space, turning buildings to dust and glass. All units, her radio crackled. "We have multiple incoming, repeat multiple incoming, engage at will." Kelly pushed her fighter toward the alien fleet. Around her, 200 human ships charged upward, their engines burning bright against the darkness. It was a tiny force against the massive alien armada, but it was all Earth had. The human ships opened fire with everything they had: Missiles and laser beams reached out toward the enemy. Some shots hit, but the alien shields absorbed the damage easily. The Zephyrian weapons fired back, and human ships began to die. Kelly watched the UES Liberty explode just 50 meters to her left. The ship had been piloted by her friend Marcus, who had 2 young children back home. Now he was gone, and his children would grow up without a father. "This is hopeless," someone said over the radio. "Stay in formation," Kelly replied. "We knew this would be hard. Keep firing." But it was not hard. It was impossible. For every alien ship that took minor damage, humanity lost 10 fighters. The sky above Earth became a graveyard of burning metal and broken dreams. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Amy Patterson watched the battle from her command bunker. Banks of screens showed the destruction happening above. Every few seconds, another green dot disappeared from the tactical display. Another human ship destroyed, another crew lost. "General," her aide reported, "we've lost 60% of the fleet. The aliens are moving to the second phase. They're targeting population centers." Patterson closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her face was like stone. "Order all remaining ships to fall back to defensive positions around the major cities. We can't stop this, but we can make them work for every target." The alien plasma beams began falling on Earth cities. Sydney's harbor turned to steam as the water boiled away. The Great Pyramids of Egypt melted like candles. In London, people screamed as they ran toward the underground shelters that had been built for this exact moment, but the shelters could not save everyone. Millions of people died in the first hour of the attack. The lucky ones died quickly. The unlucky ones were caught in the edges of the plasma strikes. Burned but still alive, Captain Ryan Brooks commanded the last major group of human warships. His flagship, the UES Defiance, led 30 vessels in a desperate charge toward the alien command ship. It was a suicide mission, but maybe they could take some of the aliens with them. "All ships, this is Brooks. We're going to ram the biggest ship we can find. Set your reactors to overload. If we're going to die, let's make it count." The human ships accelerated toward the massive alien flagship. The Crimson Blade was 10 times larger than the biggest human vessel, but the humans were not trying to outfight it. They were trying to crash into it. Admiral Kexler watched the approaching human ships with something like respect. They knew they were going to die, but they kept coming anyway. It was the kind of courage he had seen in only a few species. "Destroy them," he ordered. The alien weapons fired again and again. The used Defiance shook as plasma beams tore through its hull. Captain Brooks felt his ship dying around him, but he kept the engines at full power. They were almost close enough. "Abandon ship," he ordered his crew. "Get to the escape pods." That's an order. But many of his crew refused to leave. They stayed at their posts, keeping the ship moving forward even as it fell apart around them. The Defiance was now less than a kilometer from the alien flagship. Close enough. "For Earth," Brooks whispered, and pressed the button that would overload. The ship's reactor, the explosion was visible from the planet's surface. The used Defiance died in a ball of nuclear fire, taking a chunk out of the alien flagship's hull. It was the first real damage the humans had managed to inflict, but it was not enough. The alien ship was wounded but still functional. And there were 299 other alien vessels still attacking Earth. As the second day of the invasion began, half of Earth's major cities were burning. The human fleet was almost completely destroyed. Millions of people were dead or dying. The aliens had landed ground troops on 3 continents and were beginning to set up occupation zones. It looked like the end of the world, but in secret bunkers around the planet, scientists and military officials were preparing humanity's real response. The aliens thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming next. 3 days into the invasion, the world was burning. The alien ships hung in Earth's sky like dark angels of death, their weapons turning cities to ash. But deep beneath the Nevada desert, in a facility that did not exist on any map, something was stirring. Dr. Matt Harrison walked through corridors that had been carved from solid rock 50 years ago. The walls were lined with lead and strange metals that most people had never heard of. Armed guards stood at every checkpoint, their faces grim with knowledge of what lay ahead. Matt had worked on Project Prometheus for 15 years. He was one of only 12 people in the world who knew what it really was. Even the president had only been briefed on it 6 months ago, and only because the military leaders insisted she needed to know. "Dr. Harrison," a voice called from behind him. He turned to see Commander Emma Stone, the military officer in charge of the facility. Her uniform was crisp, but her eyes showed the strain of the past few days. "Commander Stone, are we ready?" "The device is powered up and ready for activation." "But sir, are we really going to do this?" "The simulations show that once we start, there's no going back." Matt nodded slowly. He had run those simulations himself, over and over. The numbers were always the same. Project Prometheus would work, but the cost would be enormous. Still, with aliens destroying Earth cities and killing millions of people, they had no choice. The president has given the authorization. We proceed as planned. They walked together through the final security checkpoint and into the main chamber. The room was vast, carved from the desert rock and lined with machinery that hummed with barely contained energy. In the center stood the device itself. Project Prometheus looked disappointingly ordinary. It was about the size of a shipping container, made of brushed metal with cables running in and out of it. There were no flashing lights, no dramatic displays, just a simple control panel and a single red button, but Matt knew what it really was. This small machine contained the power to tear holes in the fabric of space and time itself. It was humanity's greatest scientific achievement and their most terrible weapon. "All stations report ready," Emma announced. "We're waiting for your command, Doctor." Matt looked at the screen showing the destruction above. New York was mostly rubble now. London was burning. Tokyo had gone dark completely. The aliens were methodical in their destruction, breaking humanity's will to resist. They had no idea what was about to happen. President Lisa Hayes sat in the secure bunker beneath Washington, surrounded by her advisors and military leaders. The capital city was under attack, but the bunker was deep enough to survive even direct hits from the alien weapons, for now. "Dr. Harrison reports that Prometheus is ready," General Patterson said. "We can proceed whenever you give the order." Lisa looked at the faces around her. These people had served their country for decades, had made hard decisions in wars and crises, but none of them had ever faced anything like this. "Are we sure this is the only way?" she asked. "The conventional forces are gone, Madam President. We have perhaps 50 ships left in the entire solar system. The aliens have thousands. If we don't use Prometheus, humanity will be extinct within a week." Lisa nodded. She had been elected to lead in times of peace, to make laws and negotiate treaties. She had never imagined she would have to make a decision that could change the fate of the entire galaxy. "Open a channel to the alien fleet, all frequencies." The communication officer worked at his console for a moment, then nodded. "Channel open, Madam President. They're receiving." Lisa looked directly into the camera, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was about to say. "Admiral Kexler of the Zephyrian Empire, this is President Lisa Hayes of Earth. You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw your forces from our solar system. This is your only warning." She paused, letting the words sink in. Then she continued. "We are transmitting coordinates to a location in empty space 30 million kilometers from Earth. You may send your science vessels to investigate if you wish. You have 1 hour." The transmission ended. Lisa sat back in her chair, feeling suddenly very tired. In 1 hour, the galaxy would learn what humanity was truly capable of when pushed to the edge, on the alien flagship. Admiral Kexler stared at the communication screen in disbelief. The human leader looked so small, so fragile. Her planet was being destroyed around her, her people were dying by the millions, and she was giving him warnings. "Did she really just threaten us?" his aide asked. Kexler laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "These humans are amazing. They're facing complete annihilation, and they still think they can frighten us." He looked at the coordinates the humans had sent. Empty space, far from any planet or moon. What could they possibly have hidden there? Send 3 science vessels to investigate these coordinates, but keep them at a safe distance. The humans may be planning some kind of suicide attack. The science. Ships departed immediately, their sensors scanning the empty void for any sign of human trickery. They found nothing but vacuum and distant stars. Admiral, the science officer reported. There's nothing at those coordinates, just empty space. I thought so. The humans are bluffing. They have no secret weapons, no hidden fleets. They're just trying to buy time. Kexler turned to his weapons officer. Increase the bombardment. Target the remaining population centers. I want this finished before their deadline expires. But in the Nevada desert, Dr. Matt Harrison was making final adjustments to Project Prometheus. The device was ready, its power levels at maximum. All that remained was to press the button. 30 minutes until deadline, Emma announced. Matt's hand hovered over the activation switch. Once he pressed it, there would be no going back. The aliens would learn what humanity had spent 50 years preparing for. They would discover that sometimes the smallest, most desperate species could be the most dangerous. Are you ready, Doctor? Emma asked. Matt thought about his wife and daughter, safe in a bunker somewhere in Colorado. He thought about all the people who had died in the past 3 days, all the cities that had been destroyed. He thought about the alien admiral who believed humans were weak and helpless. I'm ready, he said, and reached for the button. The aliens had asked for war. Now they were going to get it. The countdown reached 0. In the depths of the Nevada desert, Dr. Matt Harrison's finger pressed the red button. For a moment, nothing happened. The machine hummed quietly, its displays showing normal readings. Then the numbers began to change. Power levels rising, Commander Emma Stone announced. 50%, 70%, 90%. The device began to vibrate. The sound was not loud, but it seemed to come from everywhere at once. The technicians in the bunker felt it in their bones, a deep thrumming that made their teeth ache. 100%, Emma said. Prometheus is at full power. Matt watched the readings on his screen. Energy levels that should have been impossible were climbing higher and higher. The machine was tapping into forces that most scientists said could not exist. Forces that humanity had discovered by accident 50 years ago, when they were trying to build a better rocket engine. Initiating space-time manipulation, Matt said into his microphone. Target coordinates locked. Beginning reality distortion in 3, 2, 1. 30 million kilometers from Earth, in the empty void between planets, something impossible began to happen. The 3 Zephyrian science vessels floated in the darkness, their sensors searching for any sign of human weapons or ships. Their crews were bored, convinced this was a waste of time. Still nothing here, the captain of the lead vessel reported to Admiral Kexler. Just empty space and distant stars. Keep scanning, Kexler replied. The humans must be planning something, but the aliens were looking in the wrong places. They were searching for ships, for weapons, for anything that looked dangerous. They did not notice that space itself was beginning to change around them. At first, it was just a ripple. Light bent slightly, stars appearing to shift position by tiny amounts. The alien sensors registered the anomaly, but the computers dismissed it as a measurement error. Then the ripple became a wave. Space and time began to fold in on themselves. The laws of physics, which had remained constant for billions of years, suddenly became suggestions. Reality itself started to come apart at the seams. Captain, the science officer on the lead vessel said, his voice shaking, I'm getting readings that don't make sense. The space around us is becoming unstable. The captain looked at his screens and felt his 4 hearts stop beating. The numbers showed impossible things. Matter was disappearing. Energy was being created from nothing. The fundamental forces that held the universe together were breaking down. All ships retreat immediately, he ordered. Get us away from here, but it was too late. The wave of destruction was expanding faster than their engines could carry them. The first science vessel simply ceased to exist, its atoms scattered across dimensions that had no names. The second vessel tried to turn away. But the wave caught it and tore it apart molecule by molecule. The third vessel almost escaped. Its captain pushed the engines beyond their safety limits, trying desperately to outrun the expanding sphere of chaos. For a moment, it looked like they might make it, then the wave caught them too, and they were gone. The sphere of destruction continued to expand, consuming everything in its path. Asteroids, dust particles, even the empty vacuum of space itself was devoured by the hungry void. Finally, when the sphere reached the size of Earth's moon, it stopped growing where there had once been empty space. There was now a perfect black sphere that seemed to absorb light itself. It was a wound in the fabric of reality, a place where the universe had been torn open and could never be healed. Admiral Kexler stared at his screens in complete horror. His science vessels were gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, but completely erased from existence. The humans had somehow weaponized space itself, creating a controlled collapse of reality. How is this possible? He whispered. His science officer was frantically checking and rechecking the readings. Admiral, the energy required to do this should be impossible. No species in the galaxy has this kind of power, but they did it, Kexler said. These primitive humans just tore a hole in space and time itself. A new transmission arrived from Earth. This time, it was not President Hay speaking. It was a calm, quiet voice that somehow sounded more terrifying than any war cry. Admiral Kexler, this is Dr. Matt Harrison of Project Prometheus. I trust you observed our demonstration. That was one of 48 devices we have built over the past 50 years. Each one is targeted at a different location in your empire. The transmission continued, and Kexler felt his blood turn to ice. We know where your homeworld is. We know where your major colonies are. We know the locations of your military bases, your shipyards, your research facilities. We have been watching you for longer than you think. On the human command screens, they could see the alien fleet's formation beginning to waver. Ships that had been moving confidently toward Earth were now slowing down, their crews uncertain. We are not a warlike species, Dr. Harrison continued. We prefer peace. But we learned long ago that peace must sometimes be defended with terrible weapons. You have 30 minutes to begin withdrawing your forces from our solar system. The transmission ended. Admiral Kexler sat in stunned silence, his mind trying to process what he had just witnessed. The humans had not just built one impossible weapon. They had built 48 of them. And they had been planning this for decades. Admiral, his aide said quietly. What are your orders? Kexler thought about his own homeworld, with its gleaming cities and billions of civilians. He thought about the other worlds in the Empire, the colonies and outposts that had taken centuries to build. All of them were now under threat from weapons that could unmake reality itself. Send a message to the fleet, he said finally. All ships are to cease bombardment immediately. We are withdrawing to a safe distance. Sir, are we surrendering? Kexler looked at the black sphere on his screen, the wound in space that would remain there forever as a reminder of human power. We are not surrendering, he said. We are learning. These humans are not what we thought they were. They are something far more dangerous. As the alien bombardment stopped for the first time in 4 days, people on Earth looked up at the sky with new hope. The attacks had ceased. The enemy was pulling back. Somehow, impossibly, the tiny blue planet had made the mighty Zephyrian Empire blink first, but the real test was still to come. The aliens now knew that humanity possessed weapons of unimaginable power. The question was, would they retreat, or would they call humanity's bluff and risk everything in one final, desperate attack? The answer would determine the fate of both species and perhaps the entire galaxy. The retreat began 18 minutes after Dr. Harrison's transmission ended. Admiral Kexler's hands shook as he gave the orders that would end his military career and possibly his life. The Zephyrian Empire had never retreated from a world they had decided to conquer. Never. All ships begin immediate withdrawal to the edge of the system, he announced to his fleet. Maintain defensive formations, but do not engage human forces unless directly attacked. His officers stared at him in disbelief. Some of them had served under Kexler for decades, had followed him through 17 successful conquests. They had never seen him back down from anything. "Admiral," his weapons officer said carefully, "the Empire will court-martial us for this. They will say we are cowards who ran from primitives." Kexler gestured at the screen showing the black sphere of destroyed space. "Show them that image. Tell them we faced an enemy that can tear holes in reality itself. Tell them the humans have 47 more of those weapons aimed at our worlds. Then ask them if they still think we are cowards." The massive alien fleet began to turn away from Earth, their dark red hulls catching the light of the distant sun. For the first time in 4 days, no plasma beams fell from the sky. The bombardment was over. On Earth, people emerged from their shelters and bunkers to stare up at the retreating ships. In the ruins of New York, a small girl asked her father why the bad ships were going away. He had no answer for her. Captain Alex Turner piloted one of the few remaining human fighters as it escorted the alien fleet to the system's edge. His ship was damaged, his fuel was low, but he wanted to make sure the aliens actually left behind him flew the last dozen vessels of what had once been humanity's proud space navy. "Alien flagship, this is Captain Turner of the Earth Defense Force. You are to maintain your current course until you reach the system boundary. Any deviation will be considered an act of war." Admiral Kexler's reply came immediately. "Understood. Captain Turner, we will comply with your instructions." Turner almost smiled at that. 4 days ago, the aliens had been demanding humanity's surrender. Now they were taking orders from a human pilot in a damaged fighter. How quickly things could change. As the alien fleet reached the edge of the solar system, Admiral Kexler sent one final transmission to Earth. "President Hayes, this is Admiral Kexler. I formally surrender my fleet and withdraw all claims to your system. The Zephyrian Empire will not return. You have my word as a warrior." There was a pause, then he continued. "I have fought many battles, conquered many worlds. I have seen courage and cowardice, wisdom and foolishness. But I have never seen anything like what your species has shown us. You would rather destroy the universe than accept slavery. That is either the greatest courage or the greatest madness I have ever witnessed." The transmission ended. The alien fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system forever. The news spread across the galaxy, faster than any ship could travel. The Zephyrian Empire, conquerors of worlds, had been defeated by a single planet. Worse, they had been defeated by a species that most of the galaxy considered primitive and weak. In the great trading stations and diplomatic centers, alien ambassadors whispered the story in hushed voices. The humans of Earth possessed weapons that could unmake reality itself. They had torn a hole in space and time just to prove they could do it. Some species laughed and said it was impossible. Others demanded proof. The Zephyrian government provided recordings of the battle, sensor data showing the complete destruction of 3 science vessels. The black sphere of twisted space could be detected by any ship with long-range sensors. Slowly, the truth sank. Humanity was not the weak, primitive species everyone had thought. They were something far more dangerous. Dr. Matt Harrison sealed Project Prometheus back in its vault deep beneath the Nevada desert. The device powered down with a soft hum, its displays going dark. The other 47 weapons were similarly secured in hidden bunkers around the planet. "How long before we have to use them again?" Commander Emma Stone asked. "Hopefully never," Matt replied. "But if we do, they'll be ready." The weapons became humanity's greatest secret and their ultimate insurance policy. Every world leader knew they existed, but none spoke of them openly. They were the guarantee that Earth would never again face invasion from the stars. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Where once humans had been ignored or dismissed, now they were treated with careful respect. Trade agreements were negotiated quickly and fairly. Diplomatic disputes were settled in humanity's favor. No one wanted to anger the species that could tear holes in reality. The Zephyrian Empire never recovered from their defeat. Other species began to question their power, to resist their expansion. Rebellions broke out on conquered worlds. The mighty empire that had ruled 1,000 planets slowly crumbled, brought down by their failure to conquer a single blue world. Admiral Kexler spent his remaining years on a remote frontier world, telling the story to anyone who would listen. He became known as the admiral who retreated from Earth, the warrior who saw the human warning and lived to speak of it. "Never attack Earth," he would tell young officers. "The humans look peaceful, but they are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They built weapons that could destroy us all, and they were willing to use them. Find enemies elsewhere. Leave the humans alone." The black sphere still floated in space 30 million kilometers from Earth, a permanent reminder of what happened when someone threatened humanity's home. Ships from across the galaxy came to see it, to stare at the wound in reality that could never be healed. It became known as the human warning, a monument to the price of underestimating Earth's children. In the diplomatic halls and military academies of a dozen worlds, the story was told and retold. How the Zephyrian Empire attacked Earth expecting easy conquest. How humanity gave them exactly one warning. How that warning became the most terrifying message ever broadcast across the galaxy. The humans of Earth had shown the universe a simple truth. Some species would rather burn everything down than accept change. They had proven that the smallest, most desperate people could be the most dangerous when pushed to the edge, and so Earth became the world that no one dared to attack, protected not by vast fleets or impenetrable shields, but by a single, chilling promise: threaten us, and we will show you what real destruction looks like. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was left in peace. And in the deep bunkers beneath Earth's surface, 48 weapons waited in darkness, ready to tear reality apart if anyone ever forgot why the humans should be left alone.